Well, back Basel put political conclusions, and I think all the economists, political specialists and so on who are occupied with regions will not be very astonished about what I'm saying now, but it's just a kind of conclusion of a scientific economic study. Regions with more competences in Europe develop better than others. So there is that's this famous indication. So for them it's a general line. It's a correlation. Countries with a higher degree of decentralization are economically more successful than centrally governed countries. This is something that in the old study they went through, and they went very far. And I think we can accept now that there is a scientific base for saying that in Europe, countries with a high degree of decentralization are economically more successful than central government countries. Third point. Given more competences to subnational ties fosters the economy. And why? Well, because you can be more directly involved with what's going on the regional level. Most relevant aspect for the regions, is, let's say, give more influence of the regions on the national level, so they can relate what's going on the regions. The regional level can take into account what's the policy of the regions. More independence of the regions from the national level where it's needed. So let's do the regions where they are good in. For instance, Alsace-Lorraine in France. They have enough of going to Paris for every new stop of the local trains between Strasbourg and Metz. They have to go to Paris. They're just, so let them do the regions what they can do and give them some independence. More financial competences and resources for the regions. And that's for Belgium, for the, you read the papers, you have heard about the elections in Belgium. But in my opinion, the most important discussion in Belgium will be that, which will be the structure of the fiscal federalism in Belgium. More financial competence and resources for the region are needed. More competences in recreation and culture, infrastructure, education and research, healthcare. I don't think anyone in this audience will be astonished about that. This is common knowledge for years. The application of the subsidiarity principle is a key in economic success. That's as much a logical consequence as a professional fact. What about metropolitan regions? Because that's my point. There is something different in a region and a thing called a metropolitan region. And I'm going to show you that with the case of Brussels. If you don't believe me, well, you don't have to, but this exists. This is an indicator somewhere around Brussels. And Brussels is Dutch, and Brussels is French. You see? So if you go to Brussels this way, you're 18 kilometers, then you go the other way, it's 22 kilometers, and it's from the same point. So it's a joke, but it's not. It's a good indication. It's a real. It's real. It's a Waterloo. You can find it. So that is a symbol for us that there are two views of Brussels according to the two culture or the two language parts of Belgium. And if you, let's say some of the positive and negative aspects, Brussels has a strong international brand, everybody knows Brussels. It is an economic engine that's quite clear. There's a strong growth, but the growth is not in the center. It's outside the administrative part of Brussels. And it is a multicultural meeting place. But inside Belgium, Brussels has a very bad reputation. It is sort of conflict. There is an enormous unemployment in the core. And there is poor and Flemish people in Walloon people don't like to go to Brussels. They like to go rather to Barcelona than to Brussels. Okay, but when I'm talking about metropolitan areas, what's that? Well, that's a concept that geographers are setting up. And now don't look at the red lines. Don't look at the red lines. Look at the colored surfaces. Okay? Well, geographers, they make a distinction about the center, the core of a city, the surroundings, what they call the banlieue, and the commuter area. That's where people are coming from that work in the center. So you can say the city is the physical city, all the houses together, that's the center. Or the city is the physical city plus the extension of the modern cities, the banlieue. Or the real economic city is where all the people are living that are working in this area. Now, if you look at the third one, then you have the pale colors, and then you see that from a metropolitan geographical point of view, in Belgium you have what I call a big whale, who is just under the surface, but who is a reality that is spread out at least 3 regions: the Brussels region, the Flemish region, and the Walloon region. And this is the first administrative level in the Walloon region. This is the first administrative level in the first administrative level in the Flemish region. If you ever heard about BHV, Brussels Halle Vilvoorde, well, it's that, this and that. Okay, but metropolitan regions in Europe never cope with an administrative structure. All development plans for metropolitan regions in Europe, all these plans, for instance, Basel made a lot of them, well, if you make something like that, you always have around the table more than one level. People of the central city, people of the administrations around. So metropolitan regions is a very specific case of regionalism in Europe. Because if you are working on a metropolitan development plan, most of the time you have to do with different logics, a central logic, a decentralized logic, and a more, let's say, a logic of the green part around this.